So you guys already know that I'm not really the biggest fan of video game journalists. You know, those people that write those weird articles about games that make no sense and have the worst opinions imaginable, or those YouTube videos reviewing games before they come out, but the gameplay is just terrible. I feel like video game journalists don't really do their jobs as good as they should do them. So I wasn't really surprised when I found this article that was written back when DMC5 came out called 25 Things About Devil May Cry 5 That Make No Sense. This literally might be one of the worst articles I've ever read in my entire life. Basically what the article is about is it's a list of 25 things that the writer finds are plot holes or make absolutely no sense. But the problem is that all of these things actually do make sense and aren't plot holes, and the guy writing this just has no idea what he's talking about and clearly hasn't played any of the games. So I got my friend Flo to help me out and read this horrible article, and then I'll explain why it actually does make sense and the article sucks. Remember to leave a like, subscribe, and grab a channel membership. It's only 99 cents and helps me out a ton, and let's get started.
Number 25. Why did they put sprinting behind a paywall? You know, like running and double jumping? I complained about this in my previous Devil May Cry 5 article, but it boggles my mind. It's so fucking stupid.
Why do you have to use red orbs to unlock moves like air hike and the sprint? Why don't you just have everything at the beginning of the game? Because the devs don't want to just overwhelm the player. It's the reason you don't play as Dante at the beginning of DMC4 and DMC5. The character has become so complicated over the years that a lot of players would just feel overwhelmed. If like, imagine if the game started and they just gave you Dante with all of his weapons unlocked and all of his styles and just everything. There's a reason why they gatekeep majority of the moveset from you at the beginning of the game, but they do it in a fun way with the orb shop system to reward player choice and resource management. Also, I don't know what he means by paywall. You get enough orbs to unlock both of these abilities within literally like 15-20 minutes of playtime. It's not like getting red orbs is a difficult task. They're literally scattered all throughout the level and you get them from killing enemies.
Number 24. Why does Nero shout the name of his arms? Devil May Cry 5 in a lot of ways is like anime. It hails from Japan and is over the top in all the right ways. One thing I found jarring in its similarities is the fact that Nero shouts the names of all of his robotic arms when he equips them, and Dante shouts the names of his stances. I love anime, but shouting the names of moves has always bothered me. It is even sillier here. Bonus fact, there actually is a Devil May Cry anime. Dude, this is so fucking stupid.
Why does Dante shout the name of his styles when he switches to different styles? Because that's just Dante's personality. He likes to be as flashy as possible when fighting demons and like over the top, and also it's a video game. Does this guy just want him to be silent the entire time? Even Vergil, a super serious character, says things as he fights. Like when he does the judgment cut, he says jackpot, or when he does the judgment cut end, he says you shall die. It's like he just wants everybody to be silent. But if the characters were silent, he would just make some complaint like, oh, the characters are just bland and boring. Game journalist, man.
Number 23. Why does Nico accept red orbs as currency? This next one is a logic problem I have with not just Devil May Cry 5, but a lot of video games that have shops. So Nero and V can pay Nico red orbs for upgrades and items. First of all, she is a human who takes red orbs. What's the exchange rate on demon blood? I don't fucking know. This thing is analyzing the stock market. It's the end of the world. Can't you just give me the goods? Should she accept fucking Bitcoin and Ethereum? Like, what does he want her to accept?
Why does Nico accept red orbs as payment for her devil breakers? Wouldn't she want dollars because she's a person?
It's a video game!
Number 22. Why are there scattered arms everywhere? Nico is the one that built Nero's arms for him. That is pretty solid, and I have no qualms with that. However, I'm confused how the various devil breakers get scattered throughout each level. If Nico built them all, that means they are originals. Cool, nice. Fucking retard.
If Nico makes Nero's devil breakers, then how are there devil breakers laying all around the levels? Say it with me, guys. It's a video game! If you just only got the devil breakers you have when you first start the level and that was it, there were no devil breakers to pick up throughout the level and you just got what you started with and that was all, he would just make some other complaint about how he's sick of running out of devil breakers before the mission is over and wishes there was a way he could get more. When you're reading these game journalist articles and there's complaints like this, ask yourself, what is the solution the person actually wants that would solve their complaint, and if it would just make them make another complaint. And if the answer is yes, then it's a stupid article.
Number 21. Why does Nero's battle music spoil his plot? Alright. The battle music for Nero is Devil Trigger. It's a great song, probably my favorite in the game, but it makes no sense because Nero does not have a devil trigger. Only Dante and V do, and that song doesn't play for them as they understandably have their own battle music. Out of all these entries, I think this bothers me the least, but I also found it amusing to think about. This changes by the end, I guess. The song title then is a foreshadowing spoiler.
First of all, V doesn't have a devil trigger form. He's not half demon. And second of all, how does the song being called Devil Trigger spoil the plot of the game and reveal that Nero is going to get a devil trigger form? Characters in this game already use devil trigger. How do you know it's not just referring to that? Or that it's just talking about the devil trigger form in general?
20. Mega Buster costs money. Come on, Capcom. Mega Man's trademark arm cannon is a deluxe edition exclusive. It was advertised a lot in the trailers. If the thing was like $2 extra, then okay. I guess that's fine. The only way to pay for it is if you bought the standard version on disc. It's a $15 digital upgrade package that comes with it and other goodies. With the other stuff, it isn't a ripoff, but it does rub me the wrong way. Again, because of how it was advertised.
So he says that it isn't a ripoff and is totally fine, but still puts it in the article and makes it one of his complaints. You know, it's pretty normal for games to release with different versions, and the more expensive ones having extra content and perks to encourage you to buy them. So there's two versions of the game. There's the deluxe edition and the standard edition. The standard edition comes with just the game, and the deluxe edition comes with all this extra stuff like the Nico's Van figurine and the Mega Man Buster arm. So if you have the standard edition and want to get all of the in-game stuff the deluxe edition has, including the Mega Man Buster, then it's a $15 upgrade pack, which he says is a fair price because you get all this stuff including the Mega Man Buster arm, but still puts it in his article anyway. It's a nothing burger. It makes no sense. On top of that, you can just buy the Mega Man arm separately for what, like $2? So what is he talking about?
19. Oh, man, dude, these are terrible. All right, these are awful, bro. Number 19. Nero's sword revs like an engine. But how? Eastern games sure do love to put a twist on classic weapons. I thought Squall's gun sword in Final Fantasy 8 was ridiculous, but also cool even if it didn't seem logical. The same can be said for Nero's Red Queen, which has an engine attached to it. Revving up a sword is amusing, I'll give it that, but what exactly makes the engine purr? Is there oil in there that he needs to change on a constant basis? Does it have a Hemi? This guy is so fucking retarded.
How does Red Queen work? Does it have like an engine in it or something? What are the logistics? Say it with me, guys. It's a video game! And yes, it probably does have an engine in it and need oil and gas and stuff, but we never see Nero refill the gasoline in it or replace the oil, so we can just infer that the gasoline or oil in it lasted long enough for the story of the game to happen. Next.
18. Who is V and why does he make no sense? Devil May Cry 5 does a pretty poor job of explaining V's origins. It's like he was created just for a revelation, but that late game surprise doesn't make sense. Vergil got the Yamato katana back, plunged it into himself, and separated man from demon. That created the more human form of V, which looks nothing like Vergil, and the giant demon lord Urizen. I think someone on the writing staff played or watched too many hours of Kingdom Hearts.
V not looking like Vergil actually makes sense if you think about it for a second. Vergil's dad is a demon named Sparta, and his mom is a human named Eva. So that's why V doesn't look anything like Vergil. The reason Vergil looks the way he looks is because his face and like his body is a combination of his parents' genetics. Since V only has small traces of Vergil's demon half inside of him, it means he looks completely different than Vergil looked before because he doesn't have the same DNA in him.
Number 17. Okay, why can V summon goth creatures? Oh my god, bro. Alright. Okay, so V is the human form of Vergil. We covered that, but I have more questions to ask. Where exactly did those pets come from? They certainly weren't established in any of the previous games. He's like some form of demonic Pokemon trainer, which is a joke I made before, but I still find it amusing. If V is Vergil, are the animals a part of him too? Yeah, this guy's brain is smooth.
Alright, so this is how I know this guy has never played any of the other Devil May Cry games. They were mentioned in previous games. All of these guys were in Devil May Cry 1 as enemies. In Devil May Cry 5, they're figments of Vergil's nightmares from his trauma of being Nello Angela. That's why they refuse to merge back into Vergil, and why when they all die, Griffin says that this is the end of Vergil's nightmares.
Number 16. How are the arms so weak they break constantly? Out of all the new additions to gameplay for Devil May Cry 5, I think Nero's new arms are my favorite. I was so disappointed to find out that the Devil Breakers shatter like glass though, and aren't just various weapons you can swap on the fly. I mean, are they made of glass? It's like, tell us your mom and dad are brother and sister without telling us. It's like, this is how you write this stupid ass article.
The reason the Devil Breakers break is to balance out the game. If you get hit while in the process of using one of the Devil Breakers, they explode and you can't use it anymore. This is just so you don't mindlessly spam the Devil Breaker's ability over and over, and there's some consequence to it.
Number 15. The van is brilliant, but it makes exactly 0 sense. You know what? Maybe Nico is responsible for putting those arms around the levels after all. At the end of most levels, right before a boss, you can call her up via a payphone and she'll come charging in. It gets more and more bizarre as the video game goes on. This is strange given that at the start of some missions, she tells V or Nero that she can't follow and yet comes through at the end. Is she secretly powerful or something?
How does Nico's van just appear everywhere? It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a gag. This is the most dense human I've ever seen in my life. The joke is that when you call the phone booth, Nico's van just appears and drives through the whole level to where you're at from anywhere. And the joke is that, like, how did Nico's van make it through the whole level that I just played through?
Number 14. Why did they hide the co-op mode? Yes, DMC5 has co-op. The Devil May Cry franchise has always been about single player. So in that regard, I was surprised when I found out the game has co-op. The thing is, it's not implemented in a satisfying way. The game is short, so my crackpot theory is it was put in at the last second to stop it from being resold too soon.
This is the only one here that kind of has a point. What's the point of having the co-op? But he kind of mentioned the reason why. It's because it's a single player game.
Number 13. Does playing as 3 characters actually work? Having 3 characters is great and all, but it also made the game feel a bit disconnected to me. I'm not a fan of replaying games over and over again with a different character and seeing the same stuff. That's kind of how previous character unlocks worked in this series. Instead of doing that, the game switches sporadically between Nero, V, and Dante, so much so that I could never get comfortable with their playstyles, as they're all extremely different.
So he has trouble learning how to play the 3 characters, but then puts it as a complaint against the game. It just sounds like a skill issue. You're not meant to be able to master all of these characters in one playthrough. That would mean the characters are super shallow. If you could just master everything they can do in a single playthrough.
Number 12. Devil Memento Cry. Being confused by the gameplay regarding all 3 characters is one thing, but the story is equally problematic in similar ways. The game has you replay the prologue 3 times with all 3 characters and all ending the same way. What seemed like a waste. The way and times it chose... This guy is so terrible at writing. The way and times it chose to flashback was also odd and almost like they watched Memento and thought, hey, that looks like a good idea, and then rearrange the story.
What's funny is that there actually isn't any complaint here. He doesn't actually list anything that he doesn't like. He just compares the game to this movie called Memento, and then that's the entry. How does that not make any sense? You just compared it to a movie, and then that's the complaint. There's no complaint here. It's a nothing burger.
Number 11. Where do Nero's replacements come from? So Vergil comes back from who knows where, tracks Nero down, and then takes back his katana, which was Nero's right arm. That's strange, but I can follow it. Then Nico builds a hub network into his stump so he can equip new arms or devil breakers easily. Here's the part I don't understand. Well, one of many in regard... What the... This guy writes so horribly. Well, one of many in regards to the... This guy can't write. What is this? I can't even read. It's not even me. Well, one of many... Hold on. It's like, who writes that way? Here's the part I don't understand. Comma, one of many in regards to this. Why is he writing it like he's speaking to somebody? Why don't you just write it?
So this guy clearly didn't even play the game and was just trying to come up with complaints to pad this article to be 25 entries long for some reason, just for the aesthetic, I guess. If you don't know, Nero stores the replacement breakers on his belt, and he just takes the stump of his arm and jams it into one of the devil breakers on his belt. That's it.
Number 10. The whole demon arm logic issue. Let's talk about Nero's arm. In Devil May Cry 4, Nero's arm power was called the Devil Bringer, which we were led to believe is the result of some demonic curse. It's eventually revealed that it is actually imbued with the power of the Yamato somehow. It turns out in this game, which is not only imbued with its power, but it is in fact the sword itself. I know this is a video game about demons, but this is really perplexing me.
So what does he mean imbued with the power of the Yamato somehow? We literally see in Devil May Cry 4, Nero absorbs the Yamato, the sword itself, into his demon arm. So clearly he hasn't played Devil May Cry 4, even though earlier he said that he knew how the unlocking different characters worked in that game, where you like had to play the sections over and over as different characters. So I guess just somebody else told him that, because If he actually did play the game, then he would know about this because it's a major plot detail.
Number 9. Why did DMC5 remove health items? Here's a little question that still bothers me. Why did Capcom take away health items? You can still regain health via green orb drops from enemies, but you no longer have consumables. In their place, we have gold orbs, which not only automatically revive you once fallen, but they restore Devil Trigger gauge as well. Plus, the game is littered with them, and on top of that, they are a login bonus. As hard as the game can get, I felt this threw off the balance and easily messed things up for better or for worse.
So I'm just thinking this is another skill issue here, because the game does have a lot of different ways you can heal. You can use Devil Trigger to heal health over time. You can find green orbs throughout the level, and they also drop from a lot of different enemies. So, like, this guy really wants there to be health items on top of that? Like, this guy just seems like he's really bad at the game. I'm pretty sure the reason they removed consumable items is because opening up a menu in the middle of a fight to use items just breaks the flow of combat, and it's just, you know, immersion breaking.
Number 8, why lock the harder mode? So the game is tough, especially when you're first starting out and learning how the 3 heroes operate. Given time, you'll get a handle on things, and if you're having trouble, well, I wrote some helpful tips in my previous Devil May Cry 5 article. What I do want to talk about is burying the lead. Or is that supposed to say lead? Lead or lead? I don't understand what he's trying to say here. Burying the lead. There are 2 difficulties at the start each time you complete the game on a newer, harder mode. Another will be added. Why make hardcore players wait?
He literally said the reason why in the first sentence, because new players don't know much about the game, and the harder difficulties would just destroy them and probably discourage them from playing. Also, if you want a harder difficulty from the beginning, then if you just beat Urizen at the beginning of the game, you unlock Son of Sparta, or the next hardest difficulty from the one you're playing on. Also, in this article, I don't know if he mentioned it already or if he's about to, he knows about this secret ending. It's actually one of his complaints. He knows that you can beat fucking Urizen at the beginning of the game and unlock the next hardest difficulty. So, like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Number 7. V's plot makes no sense in the context of gameplay. About halfway through the game, it's revealed that Vergil used the Yamato to separate his demon side from his human side, thus creating V and Urizen. Since V is mostly human, without the full power of his demon half, he's steadily getting weaker as the game goes on. So much so that he can barely walk as skin flakes off his face. This is in cutscenes. He is totally fine in battle after that. It's kind of a weird juxtaposition between story and gameplay.
V doesn't crawl and limp all over the levels and be on the verge of death like he is in cutscenes. Horrible game, terrible. I wanted the character to just crawl and roll all over the floor and throw up and cough everywhere when I play him. Also, there's a few emotes where V shows that he's sick and coughs and reels over. And there are parts in the game where he stumbles over and falls and is clearly sick. So I don't know what he's talking about.
Number 6. Continuity in Nero's arms. So this one could be called a plot hole, but it's funnier to me than anything else. So there were times when I used all of my Devil Break, thus leaving Nero with his exposed mechanical stump at the end. Yet somehow, in the cutscenes that follow, he has another robotic hand.
So what this guy is talking about is that if he uses all of Nero's Devil Breakers in-game, then in the following cutscene, Nero will just have the Overture Devil Breaker on his arm, even though he used up all of his Devil Breakers in the mission before it. This guy doesn't understand that canonically, that's the Devil Breaker that he had equipped. Like, in the story, canonically, Nero used the Overture Breaker at that time. Like, you don't understand that? Like, it doesn't, like, what?
Number 5. The timeline makes no sense. For whatever reason, the game is pretty hardcore about reporting the time and date to player. The final battle with Nero and Vergil ends at about 4 p.m. The final scene is around 6 p.m. with the Clyfoth tree destroyed and Nero and Nico speeding through Redgrave City. You can see construction perimeters have already been established. Really? 2 hours after the battle? This guy's really psychoanalyzing Devil May Cry 5.
So there's this rule, I'm not sure what it's called, but it says that the simplest answer or solution is usually the correct one. The simplest answer to this is that they started the construction before the demons invaded and then were just forced to evacuate and weren't, like, able to finish. He's right in the fact that it's so unlikely for them to start rebuilding the city within hours, so it's more likely that they were already building these buildings and then were just forced to evacuate.
Number 4, Vergil's plan. Okay, let's break down Vergil's plan. So he somehow figured out that he could use the Yamato to separate his 2 forms, thus making his demon side more powerful. As a demon, he persuaded other demons to help grow the Clyfoth in order to grow a blood fruit that would power him up further to fight and defeat Dante. And how did he know Nero's arm was his sword? but didn't know he was his child, and then he turned sides at the end. It's all very confusing.
It's confusing to him because he doesn't understand the fact that Vergil split his demon half from his human half in order to get rid of his human half and then just be 100% demon. But what ended up happening was he just woke up as the human half, and then the demon half of him became Urizen and then proceeded to cause all of this chaos. Vergil was V the whole time, not Urizen. When you look at it from that point of view, it makes perfect sense why V is trying to find Urizen and then merge himself back with him to just get back to being Vergil the way he was. That's why when Dante confronts Urizen and speaks to him as if he's Vergil, Urizen doesn't know what he's talking about.
Number 3. The secret ending is lame. If you heard, there was a secret ending in Devil May Cry 5, but I didn't look into it. There really is nothing to spoil, I should say, because it's completely lackluster. It's possible to defeat Urizen in the first level with Nero. If you do, he fades away, you get some obscure text, not a cutscene, then get credits. It's supposed to be a joke, but brother, I wasn't laughing. This is a wasted opportunity.
This guy knows that there's a secret ending where you could just beat the first boss even though you're not supposed to and unlock the next hardest difficulty, but still makes the complaint earlier that there's no way to play on a harder difficulty from a fresh save. It makes absolutely no sense.
Yes, there's motorcycle kung fu. But come on, the best weapon in the game probably makes the least amount of sense, and it's another one for Dante. After one of the boss fights, he uses part of its armor to resurrect a broken motorcycle. He doesn't use it to just ride around, that would be silly. He splits it in half and uses each side as a massive blade. What's more, you can slap it back together in the middle of the battle and do some sweet motorcycle kung fu. This is just the stupidest article I've ever read.
Yeah, so I guess this guy ran out of things that he was going to say about the game that don't make sense. So he just adds something at the end that isn't even a complaint. It's just a nothing burger. It's just him talking about the fact that Cavalier is a weapon in the game and describing how it works. Like, how is that something that doesn't make any sense? It's just, he just wanted to pad it out to make it 25 things for whatever reason, for the aesthetic, I guess. So yeah, that's the article. One of the worst, if not the worst article I read in my entire life. This is why I don't like gaming journalists. They don't play the games that they talk about. They literally don't play them. This has to be the easiest type of journalism ever. Journalism about video games. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks to my friend Flo for reading it, and yeah, bye.